All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome back. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. All right. I have other content that I have to do today, but I have to start with this because everybody's blowing up my phone about this fight between Tank Davis and Jake Paul. It was announced by Ring Magazine and every other major boxing media platform. And I know Jake is already on social media posting the flyer and everything like that. I didn't see if Tank posted anything, but look, I have a lot to talk about here because I think people like wanted me to hurry up and come on here and rant about this fight like everybody else is doing right now. And you're not really going to get that. I'm going to talk about a few things, obviously involving this fight, but in boxing as a whole moving forward. Okay. Now, I don't know if you guys know my history on Jake Paul fights. In the very beginning, like I had a problem with it because he was pulling MMA fighters that were pretty much like washed up, like legendary guys. Tyron Woodley was a great champion. Of course, Anderson Silva is an all-time great. And he was fighting some guys that were solid MMA fighters, but didn't really box very well. I would say that the best boxer probably was Anderson Silva, even though he was like 40 something years old or whatever. Right. And at the time, yeah, it was a little annoying. But as I stated then, and what I'm saying now, it doesn't really affect boxing, as a whole. I think the problems that we have in boxing doesn't involve Jake Paul. I think this is a teeny tiny problem, or if it's a problem at all, it's a tiny problem. Because at the end of the day, we still have real champions fighting each other. We getting unifications, we getting undisputed. We still have issues with the sanctioned bodies and the rankings. Like these are things that we talk about on a regular. Pay-per-views. I just spent $50 to watch Moses Atama fight Dillian White for like 90 seconds. You know what I mean? Like, why was that even a $50 pay-per-view? These are like major issues to me, fighters dying in the ring are issues. These are issues in the sport of boxing. Jake Paul and him having his influencer type fights is not really a problem for me, okay? Because uh, it's a two-way thing. Like the fighters are agreeing to take the fight. They're signing up. They can always say no. And when it comes to Tank is a guy, and I said this probably around, I don't know, maybe in one of my lives last year. I wish I could find the footage because I don't know what video I said it in. But I said this in a video one time, and it pissed some people off. What I said in the video is like guys like Tank, Ryan, and a few others. They're in that fine line of fighters that are like championship level guys, like top fighters, but they're on a borderline between that and like the influencer shit, right? Because they're not actually fighting for legacy. Like Ryan has yet to fight for a title, and Tank is just for the most part fighting. He was fighting for the WBA like junior titles, not really fighting against like, or trying to unify and stuff like that. Like he was just fighting like safe fights, like the Lamont Roach fight. Yeah, it ended up being a really good fight and a really close fight, but that wasn't a fight that anybody was asking for. It was guys like him, guys like Hector Garcia, guys like Leo Santa Cruz that was recently moved up or that he was pulling up to fight them, even though they were champions. He was pulling these guys up. These are not guys that was at his level at any time. They weren't Lomachenko, they weren't Devin Haney, they weren't Keyshawn, they weren't Shakur Stevenson. These are guys that were either smaller than him or guys that didn't have the experience that he had. And he just kind of beat them all up. Lamont Roach that fight just for whatever reason went left. Lamont ended up being much better in that fight, moving up from 130. You know what I mean? So when it comes to Tank, and I think people want me to rant about it, and it's like, no, Tank has not been giving me the fights that I've wanted. I've said this in so many videos. When Devin was down there, I wanted him to fight Devin. I wanted him to fight Lomachenko back in the day when he beat Pedraza. I wanted him to fight Shakur Stevenson for years now. And even recently, I've wanted him to fight Keyshawn when Keyshawn became champion. I just really mainly wanted to see him unify, and fight someone that is just not a cherry pick. I understand the Ryan fight because the Ryan fight was more like, it reminds me of the influencer thing because Ryan was kind of doing the same thing. Like Ryan was in and out of boxing, retiring, coming back, going up in weight, fighting like kind of cherry pick fights. And he was just kind of doing his own thing. His popularity was based off social media. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't even put him in that category because he's not fighting for legacy, and neither is Tank. He's stated this. He's even hinted at taking this fight with Jake Paul. The reactions right now is like, all right. I mean, if everybody wants to just rant about it, like everybody's blowing up my phone about it, it's giving me the vibes of what I got last year when Jake Paul was fighting Mike Tyson. You know what I mean? Like, it's the same thing. Like, no one reaches out. I mean, personal friends. No one reaches out to me like the way they do right now, unless Jake Paul is fighting. And obviously these are not hardcore boxing fans, but whatever he's doing, being that he's had years of building his own following on YouTube, making influencer. I didn't know who he was until he started the boxing thing, but whatever he's doing, it's working. And if he's making millions of dollars, we're talking a lot of money now. We're talking money that most fighters are not seeing. So if he's able to get a deal with Netflix and fight a lightweight, which everybody's going to watch. Everybody's going to watch this fight because people are going to be curious to see. Now he's fighting an active prime boxer, but the guy is like 7 to 8 divisions below. I mean, if we're counting Jake Paul as a heavyweight, since he's fought at heavyweight against Mike Tyson, it's like 8 divisions above where Tank fights. So even though he's fighting a really good boxer, he's fighting a guy that's a shrimp compared to him. Everybody's going to watch this fight. I don't know what the exact weight is going to be. It's probably going to be at cruiserweight. I don't know. They're saying that it's going to be an exhibition. I thought the Mike Tyson was supposed to be an exhibition until they made it a recorded fight, like a professional fight. It's on BoxRec that Jake Paul beat Mike Tyson. I don't know what's really going to happen. I don't know how many rounds it's going to be. I really don't know. I don't really care. But I'm not going to get on this camera and rant about this fight when we have boxing all year round. And I have a DAZN subscription that I pay yearly, right? I pay the annual subscription. And I'm paying just as many pay-per-views for my annual DAZN subscription that I was paying when PBC was on Showtime, paying Showtime subscription and then paying pay-per-views throughout the year. If you want to hear me rant about anything, I could rant about that real good. But ranting about Netflix, which I have the subscription for Netflix because I enjoy Netflix. I already have my subscription with them. It's not because of boxing. But I'm getting to see these ridiculous fights on there. And no, I'm not going to rant about it. If Tank does not care about legacy and he cares about money, which he said out of his own mouth, I'm not going to get on here and rant about it. If Jake Paul wants to fight a lightweight, fine. But guess what? This is the stuff that people are not bringing up. The few people that I haven't even listened to anybody on YouTube, but I'm looking at Twitter, right? Looking at social media. You guys are ranting about this. Oh, the sport I love. Why are these guys fighting? Canelo Alvarez was like 2 seconds away from fighting this guy earlier this year. Canelo Alvarez was going to fight Jake Paul this year. If Turkey did not intervene right? And get in the middle of that and sign this major 4-fight deal with Riyadh season and Canelo, we probably would have seen a Jake Paul Canelo fight. And I know like people like to say, whoever says like, oh, I wasn't Canelo wouldn't have really fought him. If Canelo was just stalling, trying to get these guys to pay, whatever. He was in talks, heavy talks, in fighting Jake Paul. So is Anthony Joshua the past few weeks. Anthony Joshua was going to fight Jake Paul. These are guys that are either bigger than Jake Paul or close to the same size as Jake Paul. Real championship, multi-divisional championship, even undisputed. Canelo was undisputed. He was going to fight Jake Paul. That's why I'm like, what are reacting? Like, what's the reaction for? Because the sad reality is almost anybody would probably fight Jake Paul if they were given a chance to. If the money is good enough, and the money will be good, all of these guys would fight him. Because when he was beating up these MMA guys, and then when he fought Mike Tyson, it triggered all these fighters. Yeah, the fights are ridiculous. They're stupid. All of them are stupid. I'm watching Mike Tyson biting on his gloves, pulling his punches. A lot of people thought Woodley, agreed to the knockout punch. I don't know if that's true, but I did watch Mike Tyson pull his punches. I did see that with my own eyes. These fights are ridiculous. The only boxer that he fought that was young was Fury. What's his first name? I don't even know the guy because I haven't seen the guy do anything since the little brother of Fury. Let me look up his name because I hate that I don't remember his name right now. But yeah, when he beat Fury, Tommy Fury beats Jake Paul. And I have not heard a word about Tommy Fury since. Like, what is he doing? I'm sure he's made a lot of money. I know he's dating a beautiful model. But that has not stopped Jake Paul's momentum at all. Like, people wanted that so bad at one point. Yet now Jake Paul is having negotiations with guys like Canelo Alvarez and Anthony Joshua. And now he's fighting Tank Davis. In my eyes, Jake could go and do whatever the hell he wants to do. As long as we're still getting quality boxing, I have no problems. He has signed almost every major name in females boxing to MVP. He's given them plenty of great looks. I really don't have a problem with the guy at this stage. I don't. I really don't. I have problems with pay-per-views, corrupt judging, deaths in the sport, like corrupt sanctioning bodies and rankings. These are the issues that I have. Ducking. These are the issues that I have. Not Jake Paul. And if Tank wants to go and do what he wants to do, give up that WBA title. Let somebody that wants to fight for it. You don't really need it. You've talked about retiring. You know what I'm saying? Like, you already have the name. You have a big enough name to fight guys that's 8 divisions bigger than you. Do whatever the hell you want, man. If they're paying Tank $50 million to fight Jake Paul or more, do your thing, bro. I'm not going to sit here and tell you not to make your money. You're going to make more money fighting Jake Paul than you're gonna make with Lamont Roach and Shakur Stevenson. Do I want to see Lamont Roach fight more? Absolutely. Do I want to see the Shakur Stevenson? Yes. That's one of my top 5 dream fights right now. Shakur against Tank. But I'm also a realist too. Like, if Jake Paul wants to fight you, and it's not going to be a real fight, it's going to be a joke of a fight, just like Floyd against Logan Paul. It's going to be a joke, just like Mike Tyson against Jake Paul. It's going to be a joke. All of them are jokes. It's just going to be a fight that everybody's going to talk about, and everybody's going to watch because they want to see what Tank is able to beat this guy. And that's it. They're going to get a bunch of viewers. They're going to make a bunch of money. And it's going to be a moment. It's going to be an event. And guess what? Winner or lose, whoever wins, loses a fight, Jake is going to go on and fight another bigger name because they're going to look at the numbers and they're going to say, all right, let's try to spin the block with Canelo. Let's try to get Crawford in there. Let's try to get a heavyweight in there like an Anthony Joshua. You know what I mean? That fell apart because of network issues. That's what they're saying. So it's the same thing, bro. It's not in the way of what we love. And that's really my point in this video. It's not really getting in the way of anything. It's not. Because Tank is not going to fight those guys you want him to fight anyway. He's not fighting Shakur Stevenson. He's not even fighting Lamont Roach in a rematch. I didn't even want to see the first Lamont Roach fight, but because it ended up being a good fight, I was like, all right, there's room for a rematch. But if Tank decided to fight Shakur instead of Roach and skipped over the rematch, I'm not going to complain. Now, with Lamont Roach, a few things, because I don't want to make this too much longer. Lamont Roach posted on his social media, and he basically was like, he did 2 posts. He posted himself in the gym and he said, yo, that Netflix money is good or something like that. And then he posted himself, I guess he went out to celebrate and he's in the club and the bottle service girls come out with the big signs and the big sign said Tank ducking. Well, I really don't know what the Netflix money thing is good for. I don't know if that means they paid him step aside, like, here, just take this bag. You know what? For all the problems, all the inconvenience you've had, here, just take this money and move on. Or does that mean that he's going to be on the undercard of this Jake Paul Tank Davis fight? Because if he's going to be on the undercard of it and he's getting paid big money, then he won too. I don't know who he's going to be fighting, but he's fighting someone on that Netflix card, maybe. Or maybe he got stepped aside money from Netflix directly and they say, hey, you know what? Shoot, let's pay you some money and let's get out of here. We'll find out what time. I didn't want to jump the gun and just think that he took step aside money because maybe he's part of this Netflix fight with Jake Paul and Tank Davis in some way. So I don't know. I don't know if it was step aside money. I don't know what it was. All right. But that's that. Lamont Roach, he's not going to be fighting Tank. You know what? It sucks that situation happened. I actually think Lamont won barely. I think he won even without the knockdown. I think he barely won. I scored it 7-5. Some of those rounds are really close. I think the robbery aspect is not really on the way the fight went as far as scoring. I think the robbery aspect is when you choose to take a knee and do things your own way when it should have been scored a knockdown. I think that's where the robbery comes in. Okay. But as far as the fight itself, it was a really, really close fight, but that I thought Lamont edged. But Lamont, you still had a moment. It's not as just getting a draw. It's not the same as getting a win, but show us what you can do against some other guys now. You're not going to get the rematch. So being that we know that now, Lamont just has to fight someone else that's good. Let's see what you can do against some of the other top fighters that's at 135. I would love to see what you can do now. And me personally, I don't think he should go back down to 130. You know, we saw the best version of you at 135. Why would you go back to 130? I never thought you was that good before you got to 135 against Tank. Your other fights, they were good performances. I always liked you, but you looked at your best at 135. You looked stronger. You was way more durable. I saw more power. Don't go back down. You know, I know you have a belt down there, but I think he is good enough to get a fight with any name at this point because people is going to want to see and compare what you can do against them versus what you did against Tank Davis. All right. Um, and yeah, that's it. I think I don't really have much else to say about this. You know, if this fight is going to happen, this guess what it is, what it is. You know, I don't know how this fight is going to play out. I really don't, you know, because these fights are usually very predictable for me. Normally when Jake Paul fights, I'll always pick him to win. I think these fights are made for him to win. So I think in this fight, you know, I don't know. You know, I really don't know. I really can't call it because he's a very, very big, much bigger fighter, but he is nowhere near as talented as Tank. So it would be cool to see Tank beat a heavyweight or a cruiserweight, but does it do anything for like Tank's legacy? Nah, it just puts money in his pocket, which is what he's here for, and that's it. You know, it doesn't affect the sport though, guys. Like, let's just move on and let's talk about the fights we got coming up. We got a good schedule. It's been a slow few weeks, you know, slow month. But starting September, it's going to start really picking up. And I'm looking forward to that. All right. So anyway, I'll see you guys on the next one. Please subscribe to the channel. Smash the like button if you enjoy the content. And hit me up on IG or Twitter or whatever it is, you know, that you use. All right. But I'm out of here. Y'all have a good day. Peace.